Red Alert 2 World Series Pro Division action coming at you guys, and I have an awesome game for you here today. We got a brand new exciting map. We got a couple of the best players in the world. Marco, the final boss, aka the greatest player to ever do it. He's facing off against Quas, the death robot. These guys are always at each other's throats, always putting up really, really close top-level games. And today we got some spicy Allied versus Soviet action, including everyone's favorite or least favorite faction, France, with their Grand Cannons. Let's get right into it, guys. As always, if you like the content, liking, commenting, subscribing, all that stuff, it helps me out a bunch. I really appreciate it. Let's go. Allied versus Soviet, Quas versus Marco. So these are forced factions. This is just a best of three, so a short series here. Starting off, Quas is going to be in Allied here on the top side, Marco in red playing Soviet. Now on this map, you got a couple oils that can be captured, some gems. You see the gems on the backside for both players. Both these guys know this map. I sent it to them yesterday, so they clearly know what they're doing. In the middle here, we have a couple buildings that can be fortified, and of course you have some oils in the center as well. So Quas going to hop right in with some production right off that center position here, try to get established in there. It's an interesting map with these center corridors. There's a bit of bottlenecks, so you definitely have a defender's advantage in there. Be interesting to see how these guys play it. Now there's also some gems in there, so whether you're going to try to get the gems or prevent your opponent from getting the gems, or maybe just try to blindside them while they go for the gems, we'll see here. But Quas clearly wants to get established early on. Grizzly's now coming from that middle war factory and trying to get his positioning early. I like that for the Allied player. Oftentimes later in the game, as the Soviet player gets established, the Allied player can have a hard time trying to get map control and might lose control of that center. So I like Quas taking advantage of his speed here to get in, grab those gems early, and try to get obviously a huge financial advantage from those gems. Now, of course, the chrono miners, their ability to chrono back does make them a little bit more viable for long-distance mining like this. And you see how Quas sent all of his miners there right away, going to try to grab those gems, maybe before Marco even realizes what's happening here. And yeah, that's going to be a very, very nice kick to Quas's economy. Quas now bringing out a single Rocketeer. So a single Rocketeer into that zone as Marco goes radar. So Marco may be getting a little bit concerned about these Grizzly numbers, or just wants to buy himself some time, but going to bring some Desolators. That's why that radar's out. So the Rocketeer comes in. Now that Rocketeer is going to try to evict that fortified building there, and this is where the rock paper scissors game kind of begins. Rocketeer comes, now a Harrier out, and the Harrier is the Harrier does snipe that Desolator, so tremendous value there. Desolators are expensive, they're slow, so trying to get them into position and then losing them is very annoying. Now the flak track's out for Marco, but this expect this little RPS game here to continue. Another Harrier comes in, takes another Desolator. Yeah, that rock, paper, scissors component early on, the flaks, the Harriers, and Quas gets in and takes a flak track now. Yeah, he didn't want to fly through too many flaks there. They start losing Harriers. Harriers are incredibly expensive and honestly quite slow loading, generally speaking. So to get in and keep those busy early game and to not lose any. All of his Harriers now smoking, but did not lose any. So great value for Quas early on. Quas now does get over to Battle Lab tech thanks to all those early gems there. Marco now just finally kind of getting himself in the center, posturing up in there. Now a Battle Lab out now for Marco. There's some paradrops on the backside. Quas's offensive paradrops in this game don't expect to get much value. Marco does such a great job countering those with Desolators. Both players now in the water. Quas been in the water for a bit here. He's got a handful of Dolphins. So the naval action starting on this map as well. And the Harriers get down and grab a Battle Lab. Man, those Harriers taking victory laps around Value Town. Get down and grab that Battle Lab. Very, very nice. And you see him, he micros them. Oh, but does lose a couple Harriers on the way back. Now Marco's got his flak tracks. He's gonna try to counter punch here. He goes at the Battle Lab, which is the weakest building. It makes sense, but man, flak tracks are such a joke trying to destroy a building. It's like shooting a BB gun. It retreats those flak tracks. Now the Dolphins, nothing too crazy in the water at the moment here. Okay, so Marco sends a couple Rhinos topside trying to go at that miner. Quas, and Quas, look at that. That was very, very nice. You see Quas, he sends his miner back to the refinery by teleporting out of harm's way. He does keep it alive, so nice micro there from Quas. What do we got? Defensive paradrop on the right side here. Pillboxes on the right side as well. Both players kind of just knotted up in the middle. Neither player really wanting to take a chance at going up that ramp in the center of the map. Dreadnought out now for Marco. Marco might not have a great scout right now. Quas seems to have the naval completely locked up thanks to his Dolphins, but Marco does bring out a Dreadnought here. Don't think he's gonna be able to get much done with that. Marco sending up some Desolators to this right side as well. So it looks like we're gonna have action on the right side coming here. And a forward barracks now from Marco to get some fodder into the fight as well. Aircraft carrier now for Quas. Oh, and the Dolphins get a little bit confused now chasing that Dreadnought. The Dreadnought might be able to get a shot off, maybe grab that refinery here. The Dolphin's still a little bit confused. Oh, but uses the aircraft carrier to take down the Dreadnought. Very, very nice there from Quas. So Marco, no value out of his Dreadnought. Okay, so what do we got here? What do we got? Desolator's now going to push in. So Desolator fodder on the right side, pushing into those GIs. Quas brings another pillbox into that zone. And Quas preparing a little sneaky backdoor split here, it looks like. See how quick Marco can respond to this. The Grizzlies now uncontested for the moment here. Grizzlies now going in. Marco a little bit slow to respond, but he's got the numbers to hold this if he... and he brings the miners in as well. Now Desolator's coming, so now Quas has to bounce back out. And top side... Okay, so and a Sentry gun from Marco as well. So yeah, the miners and the Desolators. Marco, very, very impressive hold there. It didn't look like he was going to be able to, but now Quas sends it down the middle. Quas goes down the middle, dives on that Iron Curtain, but Marco brings his reinforcements from the left side, collapsing on Quas's dive there, and now the miners and the Desolators getting so much fodder value here. Quas forced to retreat with a lot of smoking Grizzlies. They get a bit strung out, take some more hits on the retreat. Let's watch that here. So Quas comes down the middle here. He's diving on this Iron Curtain. Now the Iron Curtain, there's only a couple minutes left, so Quas has to make this move here. But look at Marco's tanks on the bottom side. Marco brings the tanks from the bottom side to buy himself some time. His top side army, by the time it gets there, they're able to all kind of pinch out Quas's army. Marco also has some miners and some Desolators, some sentry guns, a lot of things taking shots there, which really slow down Quas's attack. Wow. So Quas did get that Iron Curtain, so nice value getting that Iron Curtain, and Quas was able to retreat with a lot of tanks, but look at this left side position, not looking good over there for Quas. Marco just has a ton of rhinos right now. So Quas, yeah, it's tough. Quas needed to get that Iron Curtain, I think. I think that was a good move. And ultimately, it kind of looked like he was in a good position to make it happen, but Marco can just make crazy things happen in those positions. And if you go back and rewatch that a few times, you'll kind of see, like I said, the miners, the sentry guns, the Desolators, but also the way that Marco pulled his bottom side tanks up was really nice. Okay, so now Quas's Dolphin's going to go in. Quas does take out that naval yard bottom side. Quas's paradrop goes AFK there, but the Desolators do clean it up. So now we're going to shift over to the left side, and man, this map just keeps on rolling here. So both players now shifting action over to the left side, just kind of abandoning the right side here. And Marco doesn't have the battle lab either. So Marco lost his battle lab, so he's not even making an attempt back at tech now. The Iron Curtain's down, no Iron Curtain coming anytime soon here. And now Quas brings a split on the right side. It seems like Quas has put up so many nice offensive engagements here, but Marco's got a lot of breath back in his lungs here. Marco on the left side going at miners. Marco now sees that right side split. Oh, his tanks get pathed weird. Some of those tanks go down the middle. Those are going to get chopped up, but he's still bringing back a lot of tanks on that left side. Quas's backdoor split here does get a couple miners. Marco pulling everything back to defend. Quas's army now coming down that left corridor. Are they going to get cut off here? They do get cut off by Marco's army, and Quas's army strung out. He's going to lose a lot of Grizzlies there. Sentry gun in that zone as well. Desolators in that zone on the left side. The right side split gets cleaned up here. Now Marco can bring his reinforcements from the right side. Marco back in the naval as well. And Marco brings all of his tanks together, and those Grizzlies are popping quick as another sentry gun joins the fight, and an elite rhino comes out. So again, another nice orchestrated attack there from Quas, but now he's dead broke and no army. Yeah, that's going to be all she wrote there for Quas. Quas does quit out of that game. That was that first point. I mean, very, very frustrating for Quas. I mean, playing a player like Marco, it really kind of shows that this game isn't just rock, paper, scissors. It's not just macro. Quas had the right tactics. He had a nice back-end build. He made a lot of good decisions, but the dexterity, the micro, that click by click, those little battles, what Marco can do with a few sentry guns, a few dogs, a few Desolators. Again, I think Quas did a lot of things right. Marco just happened to do things better. So, over to our second point now, Allied versus Soviet. Marco now going to be playing France. And just a quick reminder, guys, if you guys do ever want to come join the fun, we run events every month for new players. RedAlert2.com, you can get the information, join the Discord, come hang out. I recommend it. I know you watch these games, you might be getting a little bit overwhelmed, but again, these are the best players in the world. We have divisions for lower levels. Come join the fun. I recommend it. So, Marco going to go France here. I think France very, very viable on this map. Certainly getting cannons in the middle position is going to be very, very strong. You can only imagine. Although, to be fair, last game, the middle position kind of got locked up anyway, but the players were still using it. Even though they weren't attacking, they were moving units through it. So if you can get a cannon in that center position, it can chop up reinforcements and things like that. Again, Quas going to get himself established in that center position, both a refinery and a war factory. Marco, again, going to play a little bit passive here. Marco brings out that early AFC. That's what you expect to see. The AFC is the required tech tree move to get the cannon out. So Marco wants to get that cannon in the center zone early. Quas, of course, knows he's playing France here, knows that Marco wants to slow things down. So he's going to try to get the rhinos out and make something happen. Marco does bring over a single Rocky here to start chipping out those rhinos. Let's see how quickly Quas will respond. Flak track out. Rocky does go down. So the refinery out now for Marco in the center. I'm not sure what Marco's plan is with that refinery. He's not going to be able to push into the center at the moment, but maybe once the cannon comes. All right. Oh, Quas going to come down the left side here. So 6 rhinos, 7 grizzlies. This should be looking for good for Quas. See kind of value he can get here. Grabs a power plant, and Marco just baiting right now, daring Quas to go out the MCV. Marco knows he doesn't have the tanks to go head on here. Quas switches over the MCV. Marco jumps right in, picks off a couple rhino tanks. Marco now has some dogs in the fight as well, but Quas knows he has the rhinos here. He wants to get something out of this engagement. Again, he goes in, and again, Marco pushes him back. Very, very nice defense from Marco there. Yeah, you saw Marco's patience just sitting back and just baiting Quas in bad positions. And there, the pillbox comes this time to help Marco out. And that is an absolute masterclass in allied defensive tactics. Look at that replay. 6 rhinos, 3 dogs, and a flak track versus 7 grizzlies here. Yeah, Quas should be able to get so much. And Marco just gives him the power plant. But now watch. So Marco just baiting. And as soon as Quas switches over to that MCV, now Marco's going to jump in while Quas's tanks are shooting the wrong way. He hops in, grabs a couple rhinos, then bounces himself back out again. Of course, rhinos have more range than grizzlies, so Marco does not want to chase those rhinos. He bounces back to his base, but here's the big thing on the back end, guys. That building is chopping up Quas's reinforcements. So Quas is bringing tanks down. He's losing tanks. They're taking damage. So Quas wasn't getting the reinforcements he was expecting as well. So everything going in Marco's favor right now. And then, of course, in this next engagement, Marco's perfectly placed pillbox there, taking damage and getting him out of trouble once again. Now Marco postured up in the center with that Grand Cannon. Got to be feeling pretty good about stuffing that early aggression from the Soviet player. Quas really needed to get some value out of that, try to slow down the France train that is coming down the tracks right now. And now Marco feeling very comfortable in that center position here. And now going to maybe try to base stretch along the right side. Quas bringing rhinos on the right side here. Marco a little bit slow to respond. And again, Quas, Soviet player, he wants some value here. 6 rhinos. He's got nice, better grizzly position here for Marco. He's got fodder as well, but Quas going at him. Oh, and another beautiful pillbox there. Another very, very nice pillbox. Watch that replay. So Marco's tanks actually get a little bit strung out here, which is not what you want. But then look at the pillbox. See how all of Quas's tanks switch over to that pillbox. These things might seem really little to you guys, but those are what make and break engagements at the top level there. So once again, Marco holding versus those vicious rhinos. Again, Quas, one of the best Soviet players in the world. So this is not just Marco getting lucky here. It's very, very impressive tactics. And now you see Quas base walking on this right side. A bit curious to me, base walking towards a France player. You got to think that's what Marco wants as the cannon comes out. Quas trying to crowd that cannon, but going to be taking a lot of shots here. And now Quas has so many miners getting pummeled as well. Pushing in with the rhinos, and a pillbox now for Marco comes out. Quas in trouble here. I'm not sure what the move is. He can't really counter at the moment. He's going to pull the miners back, but the cannons are just going to keep coming here. Quas has good production for the moment. He's got 3 war factories. He's got 7K in the bank. Now he's got a radar out. So Quas is going to go tech. Now there's a few ways to counter France. You can try to target the power, try to target their economy, but the big thing is tech here. Get the battle lab out, bring a Kirov, maybe a Dreadnought, maybe an Iron Curtain. And once again, Quas just pushes right in, pushing at some miners now, and another cannon comes out, and I think Quas is just going to have to amputate and try to fight somewhere else, but he doesn't want to give up his 3rd war factory. Does sell it though. I mean, you can't hold on to it at that point. And Quas, yeah, unfortunately just kind of stuck between a rock and a hard spot here, having to make some very, very difficult positions. But once he gets his tech out, he should be able to buy himself some time, harassing a miner on the backside, maybe just trying to distract Marco a little bit. Quas's ability to get over to tech here, a little bit slow. I think he probably should have been anticipating that, the cannon walk and maybe getting over to tech earlier, especially with the economy on this map. And look at this pro move from Marco. So that war factory is out of range, so Marco is control-shift clicking the ground, shooting the ground next to the war factory, and the splash damage is actually affecting the war factory. But the battle lab's out, so the Kirov should be coming here any moment. Kirov out now for Quas from that forward war factory. Very, very nice. But yeah, I think Quas maybe just had his head spun around. He had a couple engagements early on that didn't go his way, and maybe just a little bit slow into the mid-late game here. Does have his Iron Curtain out now, so the Iron Curtain's out. The Kirov's going to work. Kirov coming does take out that forward Grand Cannon. Let's the Kirov go AFK there. Yeah, probably could have got a little bit more out of that. The Kirov will be going down. Dreadnought out as well. I think that Dreadnought pretty much countered. Will it get the power plant? Does not get the power plant either. So Quas has bought himself a little bit of time, but again, just not quite getting the offensive value that he wanted out of that as Quas shifts over to the left side. I love that idea. I think that's a great idea here. Marco says, my cannons will blot out the sun. Quas says, I'll fight in the shade. So Quas shifts the MCV over to the left side. And now that Dreadnought going through, smoking Dreadnought on 1 tick of health. Oh my gosh, what can it get here, boys? He gets the rockets off. There's IFVs there. They shoot down the one. Oh my gosh. Quas gets the War Factory. That is Marco's only War Factory. Marco's only War Factory goes down. Look at that replay. All those IFVs, let that rocket go through. All those IFVs are fired. Those IFVs are out of the job. Now Quas is hungry. He knows Marco's down the War Factory. The Iron Curtain's ready. He pops the Iron Curtain, only gets 3 rhinos. Marco now on the run, gonna run away from these rhinos, but Quas gonna dive on the MCV. Quas diving on the MCV. Marco misclicks, moves the MCV. The MCV goes down. Quas bounced out his tank on the left side, bounced out his tanks on the right side, and just like that, ladies and gentlemen, Marco is down the MCV. He's down a War Factory, not producing tanks. Now he does have some Grizzlies here. He chases off that backside split from Quas. No Battle Lab. He's got an AFC. He can build Rocketeers. He can build Harriers. Try to maybe counterpunch with these Grizzlies, but Quas should be able to very easily hold this position. He can spam drones if he wants. Wow. And Marco, yeah, paying the price for only having 1 War Factory, but what a wild series of events there. That the Dreadnought single rocket taking out that War Factory, and then the dive on that MCV, of course. Yeah, very, very nice move from Quas there. A nice map awareness. Marco sends a couple Harriers down. The Rocketeer 1-2 punch does get that Battle Lab. I don't really know what that's going to do for him here, though. Again, this just really isn't much for Marco to do. He's out tanked, and Marco does quit out. So let's go watch that replay. So Quas coming in with a big army here. Second cannon does come up for Marco, and so Marco knows the Iron Curtain's ready, so that's why Marco's not engaging head on here. So Marco kind of running, getting the Grizzlies out of harm's way. But as soon as Quas sees Marco go too far from the MCV, Quas switches over to the MCV, and that was the crucial move there and crucial timing. Had he done it a little bit later, he might not have got that MCV. But of course, as soon as the MCV goes, thanks to the War Factory, that single Dreadnought getting that War Factory, and then that beautiful MCV dive. Again, just really nice awareness and nice execution there from Quas. So point number 3, boys. Here we go. It's 1-1. This is best of 3. It all comes down to this. Players picking their own factions here. Both players going Soviet. So we got some early drones coming out. They're going to go at each other's miners, early miner shenanigans. And Soviet versus Soviet, these guys know the map. They're warmed up. It's going to come down to tank by tank, move by move, click by click. Does get a drone bottom side. He'll have a service depot for that. But even if you get a drone in, even if your opponent builds a service depot and gets the drone out, doesn't lose the miner, it is a bit annoying. Look at that. Marco brings the miner back to dump its ore and then goes down to the service depot, and it's smoking now, but you only need one little drop of the hook to get that drone out. So very nice from Marco here. So Quas, Marco gets a drone in as well. Quas gets the drone out. So pretty even, but now, Quas goes right over to Rhinos. So Marco not building Rhinos. Marco going a heavy economy here. Marco going a heavy, Quas now 2 Rhinos uncontested now, 2 Rhinos out. Marco's still building miners. Okay, so Quas has 2 Rhinos out. So Quas a very aggressive opening here. Now his 3rd Rhino out. Marco's still with no Rhinos. Quas brings a 2nd War Factory. Quas is going all in here. Very, very aggressive opening. And Marco's still building his economy. Now Marco out. Marco has 2 Rhinos. But yeah, you see Marco, he's not going to save his sentry guns. He needs to start laying sentry guns proactively here. Quas now just edging on the side of that sentry gun, going at the miner. Does get a miner, now bouncing out. Now clicking down Marco's Rhinos, even in that sentry gun zone. He knows he has the body advantage here. Again, that War Factory advantage, better production. Marco needs to be careful, going to pull the miner out, but still spamming the sentry guns. Marco goes radar here. So Marco's going to try to bring a Desolator into the fight to slow these Rhinos down, but that radar's very, very exposed. And Quas, click by click, being so patient here to take down each sentry gun and each tank that comes. This is not looking good for Marco. That Desolator move and a 3rd War Factory now for Quas. So the Rhinos are just going to continue to pour in. Marco's sending all of his tanks to the front line to help hold, but now loses the radar. That's going to cancel out Marco's Desolator, a couple sentry guns, but not going to be enough for the GOAT. And Quas, just like that, does take Marco down. A very, very nice early engagement there. And you know, you look at that and you think like that final point, like, oh, you know, what could Marco have ever done? Or like Quas, how could that ever be stopped? But if you go back and watch that final, the ending of that, follow Quas's shells, right? Tank shell by tank shell, every shot he took right there, each one was hitting a specific target. He was clicking. The tanks just weren't running themselves, but clicking down the sentry guns, clicking down the tanks as they came. Perfect micro there from Quas. And of course, it was on the back of perfect macro. He had played that map a few times. He knew he had the gems, he had the oils, and that was going to give him enough to get a third war factory out very, very quickly. He skipped the early miners. Of course, Marco playing that slower game that he's known for. You know, Marco very comfortable bringing out a bunch of miners early game, defending himself with sentry guns in low body positions. It didn't work out that time for him. Very, very well played by both Marco and Quas throughout that series, but Quas does take it home. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. As always, liking, commenting, subscribing. You guys know I appreciate all that. Yeah, crazy game there. Stick around, you guys. We got plenty more games to come.
Long the